The boy stood before the massive dragon, his small hand reaching out to touch the shimmering scales of the great beast's extended wing. In that moment, two dying species found each other, the last human child and the final dragon of Dracorath. Nobody could have imagined that this unlikely bond would one day save the galaxy from extinction. Before we dive into this story, drop a quick hi in the comments and tell me where you're watching from. I always love chatting with you, and it really helps support the channel. Also, leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this one. Our tale begins in the aftermath of Earth's destruction, as a small escape pod drifts through the cold void of space, carrying precious cargo, the last hope of humanity. Elian woke to the sound of emergency sirens. The escape pod's life support systems were failing, and the 7-year-old boy had no idea how to fix them. His parents had placed him in the pod 3 weeks ago as the planetary defense systems of Earth failed and the harvester ships began their final assault. The last thing his mother had told him was to find help, that someone in the galaxy would take him in. She had programmed the navigation system to seek out the nearest inhabited worlds before the pod's hatch sealed, cutting off her tear-streaked face from view. Now, as warning lights flashed red across the pod's control panel, Elian felt utterly alone. The small vessel shuddered, dropping out of hyperspace near a gleaming blue-green planet. The automated systems had found another potential refuge, the 5th since he'd begun his journey. The previous 4 worlds had turned him away, some gently, others with weapons locked onto his tiny craft. Unidentified vessel, this is Aquarian Space Control. A melodic voice crackled through the comm system. State your purpose and origin. Elian pressed the communication button with trembling fingers. My name is Elian. I'm from Earth. It's gone now. Please help me. My pod is breaking. A long silence followed. Elian could imagine the controllers discussing his fate, perhaps pulling up information about Earth and its recent destruction. The harvesters had been methodically eliminating worlds for decades, and news of Earth's fall would have reached even this distant corner of the galaxy. Human child, the voice finally responded, a new formality evident in its tone. We regret to inform you that we cannot permit landing. The harvester contagion follows human refugees. For the safety of our world, you must leave our system immediately. Tears welled in Elian's eyes. Please, he whispered. I'm just a kid. I'm not sick. I don't have anything bad with me. It is our final decision, the voice replied, now cold. Patrol ships have been dispatched to escort you from our space. Any attempt to approach will be met with defensive measures. Through the viewport, Elian could see sleek blue ships rising from the planet's surface. His pod's computer chimed a warning. The life support would fail completely within 24 hours. This had been his last programmed destination. There was nowhere left to go. As the patrol ships surrounded his pod, preparing to force him back into open space, Elian curled into a ball on the pilot's seat. He clutched the small holographic projector his father had given him, the only image he had of his parents and their home. Activating it, their smiling faces appeared above his palm, standing in front of their house with mountains in the background. Navigation system failure. The pod's computer announced dispassionately. Remaining power redirected to life support. Manual navigation required. The Aquarian ships began nudging his pod away from their world, using tractor beams to push him toward the system's edge. Elian didn't resist. He didn't know how to pilot the craft anyway, and even if he did, where would he go? As his pod drifted past the outer planets of the Aquarian system, Elian stared at the stars. He was 7 years old and the last of his kind, as far as he knew. The thought was too enormous to comprehend fully, but he understood enough to feel a profound emptiness settling into his chest. Life support critical, the computer warned. Estimated failure, 20 hours, 17 minutes. Elian closed his eyes. Perhaps it would be easier this way, to simply go to sleep and not wake up again. At least then he might dream of Earth, of his parents, of the life he'd barely had time to begin. The pod shuddered violently, jerking Elian from his dark thoughts. An alarm blared as the small craft was caught in a powerful gravitational pull. Through the viewport, Elian saw they were approaching a massive asteroid field with hundreds of rocky bodies tumbling through space. At the center of the field hovered something that was definitely not an asteroid, an enormous space station cobbled together from the hulls of derelict ships, mining equipment, and salvage technology. Unidentified pod. A gruff voice broke through the static on the communication system. You're drifting into scrap heap territory. State your business or get pulled apart for salvage. Elian fumbled with the comm button. Please help me. My name is Elian. I'm from Earth, and my pod is breaking. I can't control it. A harsh laugh came through the speakers. Earth, eh? Heard that rock got smashed. Bad business, those harvesters. What VE you got worth trading, Earth boy? I don't have anything, Elian admitted. Just me. Another laugh. Just you? What good's a human child to me? Can't work the mines, too small for security, don't know scrap from Shinola, I'd wager. Sorry, kid. Nothing personal, but Scrap Heap doesn't run a charity. Elian's heart sank. Please, he begged. My air is running out. I'll do anything. The communication cut off, but Elian's pod continued to drift toward the space station. Through tears, he watched as a tractor beam locked onto his vessel, pulling it toward a large docking bay in the station's side. Hope fluttered in his chest. Maybe they'd changed their minds. The pod scraped along the docking bay floor before coming to rest among piles of broken machinery. The external sensors showed the bay repressurizing, oxygen levels rising to breathable levels. When the pod's hatch opened with a pneumatic hiss, Elian cautiously stepped out. The docking bay was enormous and cluttered with parts from 100 different types of ships. The air smelled of metal, oil, and ozone. Elian took a few hesitant steps, his legs wobbly after weeks in the confined space of the pod. Well, look what we have here, a voice called out. A bulky figure emerged from behind a stack of engine parts. The being was humanoid but covered in thick, rust-colored plates that looked like a cross between armor and natural exoskeleton. Four eyes blinked independently at Elian from a face that resembled a craggy asteroid. A genuine Earthchild. Didn't think I'd ever see one of you again. Are you going to help me? Elian asked, his voice small in the cavernous bay. The alien scratched at one of his plates. Name's Grax. I run Scrap Heap. And no, not planning to help you. Planning to strip your pod for parts and send you on your way. But I don't have anywhere to go, Elian protested. And my pod's life support is failing. Grax's four eyes blinked in sequence. Not my problem, Earth boy. Galaxy's a tough place. Getting tougher with those harvesters going around. Can't take on dead weight. I'm not dead weight, Elian insisted. I can learn. I can help. Grax barked a laugh. You're what, 6 cycles old? 7, Elian corrected. 7, Grax echoed mockingly. And what can a 7-cycle human do that my salvage droids can't? Elian didn't have an answer. He stared at the floor, fighting back tears. Look, kid, Grax said, his voice softening slightly. I'll give you a meal and maybe find you a functioning escape pod. That's the best I can do. The harvesters have everyone spooked. Nobody wants to take in humans. They think the harvesters are hunting you specifically. Bad luck. A loud crash echoed through the docking bay as a stack of metal components toppled over. From behind the fallen debris emerged a small, 6-legged creature with iridescent scales and large, compound eyes. It chittered nervously when it saw Elian. Skrit, what have I told you about climbing the salvage piles? Grax bellowed. The creature, Skrit, scuttled over to Grax, climbing up his leg and perching on his shoulder. It continued to stare at Elian, making soft clicking sounds. This is Skrit, Grax explained unnecessarily. Found him in a wrecked research vessel. Keeping him until I can sell him to a collector. Rare species, fetches a good price. Elian looked at the small creature with sympathy. Another orphan, just like him. Now, Grax continued, let's get some food in you before you collapse. Then we'll figure out where to send you that won't get my station blown up for harboring a human. Elian followed Grax through a maze of corridors within the space station. The walls were a patchwork of different materials, some sections sleek and modern, others rusted and ancient. Beings of various species worked throughout the station, salvaging, repairing, and trading. Many stopped to stare at Elian as he passed, some with curiosity, others with obvious distrust. The mess hall was a large chamber with mismatched tables and chairs. A food dispensary along one wall offered an array of nutrient pastes and synthesized proteins. Grax led Elian to a small table in the corner. Sit, he commanded. I'll get you something that won't poison your human biology. While Grax was at the dispensary, Elian noticed the stares of the other station inhabitants. They whispered among themselves, occasionally pointing in his direction. He could guess what they were saying. Humans brought the harvesters. Humans were bad luck. Humans should be avoided. Grax returned with a tray holding a bowl of blue-gray paste and a cup of clear liquid. Eat, he said, placing the tray before Elian. Universal protein base. Tastes like dirt, but keeps most species alive. Elian took a hesitant spoonful. The paste was bland and slightly chalky, but not terrible. After weeks of emergency rations in the pod, he was grateful for anything. Why are they called harvesters? Elian asked between bites. The aliens who destroyed Earth. Grax's plates shifted in what might have been discomfort. Because they harvest worlds, kid. Strip them down to their core elements. Nobody knows why. Resources, maybe, or some crazy religion. Been moving through the galaxy for the past 50 cycles, taking out planets one by one. And they're following humans? That's the theory, Grax confirmed. Every world that's taken in human refugees has been hit within a few cycles. Could be coincidence, could be they're tracking you somehow. Either way, makes you pretty unpopular. Elian pushed his half-eaten paste away, appetite gone. So no one will take me in? Not likely, Grax said bluntly. Look, I'm not a monster. You can stay here for a day or two while I find you a working pod. Maybe there's some remote outpost that might take a chance on you. A commotion near the mess hall entrance drew their attention. A group of Grax's crew burst in, talking excitedly. Boss, one called out, a thin alien with elongated limbs. Patrol picked up something big on the edge of the asteroid field. Sending images now. A holographic display flickered to life on the table. It showed what appeared to be an enormous creature drifting through space. Its body was serpentine and covered in armored scales that shimmered with an inner light. Vast wings stretched out from its sides, seemingly made of some semi-transparent material that captured and reflected starlight. It was unlike anything Elian had ever seen. Void dragon, Grax whispered, all four eyes wide. Haven't seen one in 20 cycles. Thought they were extinct. Void dragon, Elian repeated, staring at the magnificent creature. Space-dwelling beings, Grax explained, his voice filled with rare awe. Ancient, intelligent, valuable beyond measure for their scales alone. Each one contains enough rare elements to buy a planet. The thin alien leaned closer. What do we do, boss? Try to capture it. Grax laughed harshly. With what? It would tear the station apart. No, we watch and wait. If it dies naturally, maybe we can salvage the remains. It looks hurt, Elian observed, pointing to a dark patch on the creature's side visible in the hologram. See? Something's wrong with it. Grax squinted at the image. You're right, kid. Probably why it drifted into our sector. Dying, most likely. Something about the wounded creature stirred a deep empathy in Elian. Here was another being alone in the vastness of space, injured and likely frightened. Without thinking, he blurted out, "We should help it." The mess hall fell silent, then erupted in laughter. Help a void dragon? Grax wheezed between chuckles. Might as well try to repair a star. They're not pets, kid. They're ancient cosmic predators. Legend says they fed on the energy of dying stars before most species achieved space flight. But it's hurt, Elian insisted. And alone. Like me. Grax's laughter faded. He studied Elian with an unreadable expression. You got heart, Earth boy. Stupid heart, but heart nonetheless. He sighed heavily. Fine. We'll take a closer look. Not promising anything, but we'll look. Might be educational for you before you leave. Elian felt a small flicker of hope as he followed Grax from the mess hall toward the command center of the station. Perhaps he'd found a temporary ally in the gruff salvage boss. As they walked, Skrit scuttled alongside them, occasionally climbing up Elian's leg to perch on his shoulder, chittering softly in his ear. The command center was a circular room with viewports looking out into space and numerous control stations manned by various crew members. A large central holodeck displayed the asteroid field and the wounded void dragon drifting among the rocks. Magnify Sector 7, Grax ordered. The hologram zoomed in on the dragon, providing a clearer view of its injuries. A large gash ran along its side, exposing what looked like glowing blue tissue beneath the armored scales. Weapon impact, one of the crew observed. Energy-based, from the burn pattern. Harvesters, someone else suggested. Possibly, Grax agreed. They've been expanding into this sector. Dragon probably got too close to one of their patrols. Elian stared at the magnificent creature. Even wounded, It possessed a grace and power that took his breath away. Its body undulated slowly as it drifted, wings occasionally giving a weak pulse as if trying to propel itself forward. "Can we communicate with it?" Elian asked. One of the crew, a being with translucent skin through which complex organs were visible, turned to Grax. "The boy may have a point, sir. Void dragons are sentient. Old records suggest they understand multiple languages." Grax rubbed his plated chin thoughtfully. "Worth a try, I suppose. Activate long-range communication, broad spectrum. Let's see if it responds." The transparent crew member manipulated controls on a nearby console. "Channel open, sir." "Attention, Void Dragon," Grax spoke clearly. "This is Scrap Heap Station. We've observed your injuries. Do you require assistance?" For several long moments, there was no response. Then, a deep, resonant voice filled the command center, seeming to come from everywhere at once. "I." "Here." The voice rumbled, each word measured and deliberate. "The last station." "Yes. I require rest. Safety." The hunters, they searched still. Elian felt a chill run down his spine at the ancient voice. It carried weight and wisdom beyond anything he'd experienced. "We can offer temporary sanctuary within our asteroid field," Grax replied, surprising Elian with his generosity. "But we lack facilities for a being of your size and nature. Any healing would be up to you." A sound like distant thunder rumbled through the communication system, perhaps the dragon's version of laughter or acknowledgement. "I need only time," the dragon responded. "And perhaps company. It has been long since I spoke with younger races." Grax's crew exchanged glances, clearly uncomfortable with the idea of keeping company with a legendary cosmic predator. "I'll go," Elian volunteered suddenly. All eyes in the command center turned to him. "You?" Grax sputtered. "Kid, you don't know what you're saying. That's a void dragon out there. It could swallow you whole without noticing. If it wanted to eat people, it would have said so." Elian reasoned with the simple logic of a child. "It's hurt and lonely. I know how that feels." The dragon's voice rumbled again. "A young one volunteers? Curious. What manner of being?" Grax hesitated, then sighed. "A human child. The last of his kind, possibly." A long silence followed. When the dragon spoke again, its voice seemed sharper, more focused. "Human? Bring him to me. I would see this last one." Elian looked expectantly at Grax, whose plated face contorted in what appeared to be the alien equivalent of exasperation. "Absolutely not," Grax declared. "I'm not sending a child out into space to meet a void dragon. That's just asking for trouble." "But it asked for me specifically," Elian argued. "Kid, in my experience, when a predator asks to meet you personally, it's not for pleasant conversation." The dragon's voice interrupted again. "I mean, no harm to the human child. I offer knowledge exchange. And perhaps more." Grax crossed his arms. "More what?" "That is, between the child and me," the dragon responded enigmatically. Elian tugged at Grax's arm. "Please let me go. What do I have to lose? No one wants me anyway." "At least the dragon is interested." Grax looked down at the boy, and something in his four eyes softened. "You really are determined to get yourself killed, aren't you, Earth Boy?" He sighed heavily. "Fine, but we do this my way. You'll take a shuttle with a full emergency kit. You'll wear a space suit the entire time. And you'll maintain constant communication with the station." Elian's face lit up with the first genuine smile since his pod had been pulled into Scrap Heap. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet," Grax grumbled. "If that thing eats you, I'm not responsible." Within the hour, Elian found himself in a small maintenance shuttle, piloted by a taciturn alien named Vorex who apparently drew the short straw for the mission. Elian was encased in a space suit several sizes too large for him, the excess material bunched and secured with makeshift fasteners. "Remember," Grax's voice came through the communication system, "constant contact. First sign of trouble, you get back to the shuttle. Dragon or no dragon, your safety comes first." Elian nodded, though he wasn't sure Grax could see the gesture through the oversized helmet. "I'll be careful." As the shuttle approached the massive form of the void dragon, Elian pressed his face to the viewport, taking in the incredible sight. Up close, the dragon was even more magnificent. Its scales weren't simply reflective, but seemed to contain swirling galaxies within them. The wings, now folded close to its body, We're like living solar sails, thin enough to be translucent, yet strong enough to propel a being of its size through the vacuum of space. The wound on its side pulsed with blue light, rhythmic like a heartbeat. The dragon's head turned toward the approaching shuttle, revealing eyes that shone like captured stars. "Bring the shuttle close to my head," the dragon instructed, its voice clearer now that they were near. "The human may cross to me there." "Cross?" Vorex questioned. "You mean outside the shuttle? In space?" "I maintain a field around my body," the dragon explained. "Atmosphere. Gravity. The suit is unnecessary, but prudent for approach." Vorex looked dubious but followed the dragon's instructions, bringing the shuttle alongside its massive head. As they drew closer, Elian could feel a subtle shift, a gentle pull toward the dragon, suggesting it indeed generated its own gravitational field. "I'm going out," Elian announced, moving toward the shuttle's airlock. "Kid, wait," Vorex protested, but Elian had already closed the inner door. The airlock cycled, and the outer door opened to space. Elian expected the terror of the void, but instead felt a gentle pressure all around him, as if he were sinking into warm water. He pushed off from the shuttle, drifting slowly toward the dragon's enormous head. As he approached, one great eye, larger than the entire shuttle, focused on him. The pupil contracted slightly, adjusting to his proximity. Elian could see his own reflection in the starlit surface. "Hello," Elian said simply, his voice carrying through the strange atmosphere the dragon maintained. "Human child," the dragon rumbled, the sound vibrating through Elian's body. "Last of Earth. I am Azurath. Last of Dracorath. You're the last two?" Elian asked, surprised. "Yes," Azurath confirmed. "My kind, hunted to extinction, for our scales, our knowledge. I alone remain." Elian drifted closer, now close enough to touch the dragon's armored face. "I'm sorry. It's hard being the last." "Indeed." The great eye blinked slowly. "You are very young to bear such burden." "I'm 7, Elian said proudly. "My name is Elian." "Elian," Azurath repeated, the name seeming to take on new depths in the dragon's resonant voice. "Why do you approach me when others fear?" Elian considered the question. "Because you're hurt. And alone. Like me." A sound like distant thunder rumbled from the dragon. Laughter, Elian realized. "Simple wisdom," Azurath commented. "The best kind. Come closer. Elian of Earth. Let me see you better." Elian drifted until he was directly before the dragon's eye, close enough that he could see the complex patterns within the iris, swirling like cosmic dust clouds. "You are afraid," Azurath observed. "Yet you came. Courage is not absence of fear, but action despite it." "I didn't know where else to go," Elian admitted. "No one wants a human. They think I'll bring the harvesters." The dragon's eye narrowed at the mention of harvesters. "Ah, the collectors. Yes, they hunt specific elements. Patterns. Energy signatures. Do they hunt humans specifically?" Elian asked, voicing the fear that had been following him across the stars. "Not humans," Azurath corrected. "Something humans accidentally created. A beacon. A signal. In your attempt to reach the stars, you broadcast your presence too loudly." "So it is our fault," Elian said sadly. "Fault implies intent," Azurath rumbled. "No, merely unfortunate timing. The collectors were already searching. Your signal led them to you." Elian floated silently for a moment, processing this information. "Can they be stopped?" "Perhaps," the dragon replied. "With knowledge. With time. With unexpected allies." Before Elian could ask what the dragon meant, Azurath's massive body shuddered. The wound on his side pulsed more brightly, and a sound like a pained groan echoed through the strange atmosphere. "You're really hurt," Elian observed with concern. "Can I help?" "Perhaps," Azurath said again. "I require rest, healing, safe harbor, but more. I require purpose." "Purpose? For millennia, I have drifted, observed, survived, but to what end? The last of my kind, with no future, no legacy." The great eye focused intently on Elian. "Until now." "What do you mean?" Elian asked, a strange hope building in his chest. "We are both last ones," Azurath explained. "Both adrift. Both rejected. Perhaps we were meant to find each other." Like fate, Elian suggested. Another rumble of dragon laughter. Fate is a young race's concept. But synchronicity exists. Patterns form across cosmic scales. Our meeting is significant. The dragon's wing nearest to Elian slowly unfurled, extending toward him like a vast, shimmering canopy. Elian of Earth, Azurath intoned formally. Would you accept my protection? Would you become my charge? My purpose? Elian stared at the extended wing in wonder. You want to take care of me? More, Azurath corrected. I offer bond, knowledge, home. In return, you give me reason to continue, to fight, to protect the last human child. Tears welled in Elian's eyes, floating away in small globules within the dragon's gravitational field. After weeks of rejection and fear, here was a being, the most ancient and powerful he had ever encountered, offering him not just shelter, but belonging. Yes, Elian whispered. Yes, I accept. The dragon's wing moved closer, enveloping Elian in a cocoon of shimmering, translucent membrane that glowed with inner light. Within this embrace, Elian felt warmth spreading through his body and a presence touching his mind. Ancient, vast, but gentle. Then it is done, Azurath declared, his voice now echoing within Elian's thoughts as well as around him. The bond is formed. The last human and the last dragon. Together, we are no longer last. We are first. In the shuttle, Vorax watched in amazement as the dragon's wing wrapped around the boy, suffusing him with radiant energy. Over the communication system, Grax was demanding updates, his voice increasingly panicked. The dragon has taken the boy, Vorax reported, unable to tear his eyes away from the sight. But not as prey. It's like a cocoon. I've never seen anything like it. On Scrap Heap Station, Grax and his crew gathered around the view screens, watching the extraordinary scene unfold. The Void Dragon, with Elian now secured within the protective embrace of its wing, was beginning to move with renewed vigor, its wound already appearing less severe. What just happened? Grax wondered aloud, his 4 eyes blinking in astonishment. The transparent crew member consulted an ancient data archive. There are legends, sir, they reported. Stories of void dragons forming symbiotic bonds with other species. It hasn't been documented in thousands of cycles, but we just witnessed it, Grax finished. The last human and the last dragon. As the dragon turned toward Scrap Heap Station, Grax felt a moment of alarm. But instead of aggression, he sensed a new purpose in the creature's movements. Scrap Heap Station, Azurath's voice boomed through their communication system. I request temporary sanctuary for myself and my human charge. In return, I offer protection against the coming storm. Coming storm? Grax questioned. What coming storm? The collectors, Azurath replied ominously. They approach this sector, drawn by the human child's trail. But now, we stand together. If you shelter us, we will defend you. Grax looked around at his crew, seeing the fear in their eyes at the mention of harvesters, or collectors, as the dragon called them. He thought of the small human boy who had shown more courage than beings 10 times his age, approaching a cosmic predator without hesitation. Well, Grax said finally, a grim smile spreading across his plated face. Seems like our little salvage operation just got a lot more interesting. Within the protective embrace of Azurath's wing, Elian felt something he hadn't experienced since leaving Earth, hope. He was no longer the orphan human boy rejected by every refuge. He had found his place, with the most unexpected guardian imaginable. And as the last dragon carried him toward the ramshackle safety of Scrap Heap Station, Elian knew that their journey together was just beginning. 3 months had passed since Elian and Azurath had arrived at Scrap Heap Station. What had begun as temporary sanctuary had evolved into something more permanent as the odd pair integrated into the station's daily life. Azurath remained primarily in the asteroid field surrounding the station, his massive form unable to fit within the structure itself, but Elian shuttled back and forth between his dragon guardian and the station's inhabitants. The boy had changed in those months. No longer the frightened refugee, he walked with confidence through Scrap Heap's corridors. He had grown an inch taller, his frame filling out thanks to proper nutrition. But the most significant changes were invisible, the knowledge and abilities that came from his bond with Azurath. Focus, young one, Azurath's voice resonated in Elian's mind as the boy sat cross-legged in his small quarters aboard the station. Feel the energy pathways within you. Follow them to their source. Elian closed his eyes, his breathing steady and controlled. Since forming their bond, Azurath had been teaching him to access and channel the cosmic energies that void dragons naturally manipulated. It wasn't magic, as Azurath had explained, but a fundamental understanding of energy that most species never achieved. I feel it, Elian whispered, a faint blue glow emanating from beneath his skin, like rivers of light. Good, Azurath praised. Now direct it, gently, to your fingertips. Elian extended his hand, concentrating. The blue glow intensified, gathering at his fingertips until small arcs of energy danced between them. A sudden pounding on his door broke his concentration. The energy dissipated as Elian's eyes snapped open. Kit, meeting in the command center. Now, Grax's voice boomed through the door. They found us. Elian's stomach dropped. They had been expecting this day, preparing for it, but the reality still sent a chill through him. The collectors had arrived. I'm coming, he called back, already reaching for his jacket. A custom piece Grax had fashioned for him from salvaged materials, emblazoned with the station's logo on one shoulder and a stylized dragon on the other. I sensed their approach. Azurath communicated directly to his mind. 3 collection vessels at the edge of the system. I am positioning myself on the far side of the asteroid field. Remember our strategy. I remember. Elian confirmed silently as he hurried through the corridors toward the command center. When he arrived, the center was a flurry of activity. Crew members rushed between stations, while Grax stood at the central holodable, his plated face set in grim determination. There's our boy, Grax acknowledged as Elian entered. Right on time. Take a look. The holographic display showed 3 massive ships approaching the asteroid field. They were unlike any vessels Elian had seen before. Not sleek like the Aquarian patrol ships or cobbled together like the salvage vessels that frequented Scrap Heap. These were perfect geometric forms. One a sphere, one a cube, and one a pyramid. Their surfaces were featureless and black, absorbing rather than reflecting light. Collector vessels, Grax confirmed. Just as the dragon predicted. 3 different types, haven't seen that before. Usually, they send just one. They're adapting, Elian said, knowledge from Azurath flowing through him. Learning from previous encounters. The sphere contains their primary consciousness. The cube is their processing vessel. It breaks down whatever they harvest. The pyramid is new. Grax and his crew stared at Elian, still not entirely used to the ancient wisdom that sometimes emerged from the child's mouth. And what does the pyramid do? Grax asked hesitantly. Elian frowned, reaching out through his bond with Azurath. We're not sure. It's a design they haven't deployed before. But Azurath thinks it might be specifically designed to counter him. They've encountered void dragons before. Skrit chittered nervously from his perch on a nearby console, his iridescent scales dulled with stress. Over the past months, the small creature had become Elian's constant companion whenever he was aboard the station. Well, Grax said, clapping his plated hands together. Then we stick to the plan. Station goes into stealth mode. All non-essential systems powered down. We hide among the asteroids, use the mineral content to mask our signature. Elian, you and your scaly friend do your thing, and we provide backup where we can. The crew nodded, already moving to their assigned tasks. In the months since Elian and Azurath had arrived, Scrap Heap had transformed from a simple salvage operation to a fortified outpost. Weapons had been installed, shields reinforced, and escape protocols established. No one harbored any illusions about standing against the collectors directly, but they were determined to survive. Remember, Grax told Elian, resting a heavy hand on the boy's shoulder. First sign that things are going south, you get to the emergency pod. We've got it prepped and programmed with coordinates to a safe location. Elian nodded, though they both knew he had no intention of abandoning the station or Azurath. It won't come to that, he said with more confidence than he felt. We're ready for them. As the collector vessels approached the outer edge of the asteroid field, Elian made his way to a small hangar where his personal shuttle waited. No longer requiring an adult pilot, he had learned to navigate the small craft himself, partly through Azurath's guidance and partly through Grax's surprisingly patient instruction. Launching now. Elian reported through the communication system as the hangar doors opened to space. Meeting Azurath at Position Alpha. Understood, Grax's voice crackled back. Be careful out there, Earthboy. Elian smiled at the nickname that had once been derogatory but had since become affectionate. Always am, boss. The shuttle glided out into the asteroid field, weaving between the floating rocks with practiced ease. Elian felt Azurath's presence growing stronger in his mind as he approached their rendezvous point. The collectors have begun their scan, Azurath informed him. They seek the human energy signature that initially drew them to this sector. Your signature, though it is now altered by our bond. Will they recognize me? Elian asked as his shuttle rounded a particularly large asteroid. Uncertain, Azurath admitted. Our bond has changed your energy patterns significantly, but we must assume they are capable of adaptation. The shuttle's sensors picked up Azurath's massive form, coiled around a cluster of asteroids. The Void Dragon had grown stronger during their months at Scrap Heap, his wound fully healed, his scales gleaming with renewed vitality. As Elian approached, the dragon unfurled one massive wing, creating a pocket of atmosphere and gravity where the shuttle could safely dock. Instead of using the airlock, Elian simply opened the shuttle's hatch once it was secure within Azurath's field. He stepped out, immediately feeling the familiar warm pressure of the dragon's manufactured atmosphere embracing him. They have deployed scout drones, Azurath observed, his enormous head lowering to Elian's level. Small, fast, difficult to detect. They searched the field systematically. Elian nodded, placing a hand on the dragon's shimmering scales. At the point of contact, both boy and dragon glowed briefly with the same blue energy. Then we should begin. Azurath's wing curled around Elian, not completely enclosing him this time, but creating a partial cocoon of translucent membrane. Within this space, Elian sat cross-legged, closing his eyes and reaching for the cosmic energy that flowed between them. Remember, Azurath guided, we do not fight directly. We hide. We misdirect. We confuse. The collectors are powerful but single-minded. Their greatest weakness is their inability to comprehend deception. Elian nodded, concentrating. Blue energy began to flow from his body, channeling through Azurath's wing and spreading throughout the dragon's massive form. Together, they created a complex energy field that extended through the asteroid field, subtle and nearly undetectable. As the first scout drones entered their area, the field reacted, not by attacking the drones, but by feeding them false information. Where Elian's human signature might have registered, the field instead projected the natural radiation of the asteroids. Where Scrap Heap Station's technology might have been detected, the field suggested abandoned equipment, long dormant. It's working, Elian whispered, his consciousness partially merged with Azurath's, allowing him to perceive the drone's confusion as they passed through areas where their sensors detected nothing of interest. For now, Azurath cautioned, but they will adapt. They always do. True to the dragon's warning, the second wave of drones that entered the field moved more deliberately. Their scanning patterns changed. Elian and Azurath adjusted their energy field in response, shifting the false signatures to continue the deception. This elaborate dance continued for hours, Elian and Azurath constantly adapting their strategy as the collectors deployed increasingly sophisticated detection methods. The strain began to tell on Elian, sweat beading on his forehead as he channeled more energy than he ever had before. You must rest, Azurath insisted, sensing the boy's fatigue. No time, Elian replied through gritted teeth. They're getting closer to the station. Indeed, the scout drones had begun to concentrate their efforts near Scrap Heap's hiding place, suggesting they had detected something that piqued their interest. Scrap Heap, status report. Elian communicated through the neural link Azurath had established with the station's systems. Still dark, Grax replied, his voice tense. But they're getting close, kid. We've got drones practically scratching at our hull. Elian took a deep breath, drawing on reserves of strength he didn't know he possessed. We need to give them something else to focus on. A distraction. What did you have in mind? Azurath inquired, already sensing the plan forming in Elian's thoughts. Me, Elian said simply. Or rather, a version of me. We project my human signature, but away from both the station and us. Make them think they've found what they're looking for. Azurath was silent for a moment, considering. It is risky. To project a convincing signature requires precise control and significant energy. You are already taxed. I can do it, Elian insisted. I have to. The dragon's great, I regarded him thoughtfully. Very well. But we do this together. My strength supporting yours. Elian nodded, grateful. He repositioned himself within the partial cocoon of Azurath's wing, placing both hands directly against the shimmering membrane. The blue energy flowing between them intensified, and Elian focused his mind on creating a perfect replica of his original human energy signature, the one that had inadvertently drawn the collectors to Earth. With Azurath's guidance, he projected this signature to a point far from both the station and their current position, near the edge of the asteroid field. For several tense moments, nothing happened. Then, abruptly, all the scout drones changed course, converging on the false signature. It's working, Elian exclaimed, hardly daring to believe their plan was succeeding. The scout drones, yes, Azurath agreed. But watch the collection vessels. Elian extended his perception, seeing through Azurath's senses. The three geometric ships had indeed changed course, moving toward the projected signature. But the pyramid-shaped vessel separated from the others, continuing its approach toward the asteroid field. They're hedging their bets, Elian realized. Two ships pursue the decoy, but one still searches here. The pyramid vessel, Azurath confirmed. As I suspected, it has been designed specifically to counter beings like me. It is not fooled by our energy manipulations. Elian's heart raced. What do? We adapt, Azurath replied calmly. We change strategies. If deception fails, we must consider confrontation. Before Elian could respond, a blast of energy cut through space, striking a nearby asteroid and vaporizing it instantly. The pyramid vessel had entered the asteroid field and was clearing a path directly toward them. It knows we're here, Elian gasped, feeling the hostile intent radiating from the collector's ship. Yes, Azurath acknowledged. The time for hiding has passed. Elian, return to your shuttle. Go to the station. I will engage the vessel. No, Elian protested. We stick together. That's the plan. Plans change, Azurath countered, already unwrapping his wing from around the boy. This vessel is designed to hunt void dragons. I cannot risk you in direct confrontation. Another energy blast struck closer, sending fragments of asteroid hurtling in all directions. Azurath's protective field deflected those that came toward them, but the message was clear. The collector vessel was closing in. I won't leave you, Elian insisted, clinging to the dragon's scales. Azurath's voice softened. Young one, our bond remains regardless of physical distance. I need you to coordinate with the station. Prepare for emergency protocols. This battle may not go in our favor. Elian wanted to argue further, but the wisdom in Azurath's words penetrated his stubbornness. Reluctantly, he nodded. Promise you'll be careful. A rumble of dragon laughter vibrated through their bond. I have survived the death of stars, little one. I will survive this. With a final squeeze of Azurath's scales, Elian hurried back to his shuttle. As he powered up the engines, he watched through the viewport as Azurath unfurled to his full, magnificent size, wings extended like vast solar sails, body glowing with accumulated cosmic energy. The shuttle darted away, weaving through asteroids as Elian headed back toward Scrap Heap Station. Behind him, he felt rather than saw the first clash between Azurath and the pyramid vessel, a surge of power that sent ripples through their bond. Grax, Elian called through the communication system. Azurath is engaging one of the collector vessels. The other two are following our decoy, but they'll realize the trick soon enough. We need to be ready to move. Already on it, kid, Grax replied. We're warming up engines, keeping them at minimal power to avoid detection. But we won't leave without you or the dragon. Elian guided his shuttle toward the concealed docking bay where Scrap Heap had gone dark. As he approached, a small opening appeared in what otherwise looked like a solid asteroid face, just large enough for his shuttle to slip through. The moment he landed, Elian raced to the command center. Grax and his crew were gathered around the holodeck, watching the confrontation between Azurath and the pyramid vessel. The sight took Elian's breath away. Azurath moved through space with incredible grace, his serpentine body twisting and turning to avoid the energy blasts from the collector ship. When he could, the dragon retaliated, exhaling streams of what looked like blue fire, concentrated cosmic energy that scored the vessel's black surface. "He's holding his own," Grax observed, admiration in his voice. "For now," Elian said grimly. "But the other ships will return soon. And Azurath thinks the pyramid was designed specifically to fight void dragons." As if confirming his fears, the pyramid vessel suddenly emitted a pulse of dark energy that caught Azurath mid-maneuver. The dragon's body convulsed, his wings momentarily faltering. Elian gasped, feeling a sympathetic pain through their bond. They're using some kind of anti-cosmic energy, he realized. It disrupts his natural abilities. Through their connection, he could sense Azurath's growing concern. The dragon had faced collectors before, but this specialized vessel posed a threat he hadn't anticipated. The anti-cosmic pulses weakened him with each hit, making it harder to maintain his natural defenses. "Azurath, fall back to the station," Elian urged through their bond. "We can protect you here." "No," the dragon replied firmly. "If I retreat, they will follow. The station would be discovered. I must keep their attention focused on me." Another pulse struck Azurath, more powerful than the last. Elian felt the dragon's pain and determination as he continued to fight, but it was clear the battle was turning against him. In that moment, as Elian watched his guardian and friend struggling against a superior enemy, something shifted within him. The knowledge and power that had been gradually building through his bond with Azurath crystallized into sudden understanding. "The other collector vessels are returning," one of Grax's crew reported urgently. "They've realized the decoy was false." Grax turned to Elian. "Time to go, kid. We've got the emergency protocols ready. We can't win this fight." But Elian wasn't listening. His eyes had taken on the same starlit quality as Azurath's, and blue energy coursed visibly beneath his skin. "I know what to do," he said, his voice overlaid with harmonics that weren't entirely human. "I know how to stop them." Before anyone could respond, Elian turned and ran from the command center, heading back toward the docking bay. "Elian," Grax shouted after him. "Stop. It's too dangerous." But Elian was already in his shuttle, launching back into space before the station's crew could prevent him. As he navigated through the asteroid field toward the battle, he reached out to Azurath. "I understand now," he communicated, "what you've been teaching me all these months. It wasn't just about manipulating energy, it was about understanding the fundamental patterns of the universe." "Yes," Azurath confirmed, still engaged in his increasingly desperate battle. "But you are not ready to apply such knowledge. The risk is necessary," Elian finished. "The collectors follow a pattern too. A program. They seek specific energy signatures, harvest them, process them. But patterns can be disrupted." He guided his shuttle toward the sphere-shaped vessel, the one Azurath had identified as containing the collector's primary consciousness. Unlike the pyramid, which was still focused on battling Azurath, the sphere paid little attention to the small human craft approaching it. "Elian, what are you doing?" Grax's panicked voice came through the communication system. "Get back to the station." "I can't," Elian replied calmly. "This is why Azurath and I found each other. This is our purpose." As his shuttle drew closer to the sphere vessel, Elian closed his eyes, focusing on the energy flowing through him. Not just his own human energy, or even the cosmic power he channeled from Azurath, but something new. A hybrid energy pattern that had never existed before, human and dragon combined. "Azurath," he called through their bond. "I need your help one more time." The dragon, sensing Elian's plan, disengaged from his battle with the pyramid vessel. Despite his weakened state, he surged through space toward Elian's position, drawing the pyramid in pursuit. "What you attempt is dangerous," Azurath warned, even as he aligned himself with Elian's intentions. "It may destroy us both. Or save everyone," Elian countered. "Isn't that worth the risk?" A rumble of dragon acknowledgement. "It is. Very well, young one." Together, as the three collector vessels converged, the sphere still mostly ignoring Elian's shuttle, the cube moving to join it, and the pyramid pursuing Azurath, Elian activated the shuttle's external speakers. "Attention, collector vessels," he broadcast on all frequencies. "I am the last human child of Earth. You've been hunting my kind for our energy signature. Here I am. Come and get me." The sphere vessel finally seemed to notice him, sensors focusing on his shuttle. But instead of attacking, it began to scan him, analyzing the unique energy pattern he now exhibited. "That's right," Elian murmured. "Try to make sense of what I am now." Through their bond, Azurath channeled his remaining strength to Elian. The boy's body glowed with blue light so intense it was visible even through the shuttle's hull. The hybrid energy pattern amplified, becoming a beacon that drew the full attention of all three collector vessels. "They are confused," Azurath observed. "Your pattern does not match their parameters. It is human, yet not. Dragon, yet not. They attempt to adapt their collection protocols. And while they're figuring it out," Elian focused his mind, channeling the combined energy not outward as an attack, but inward, collapsing it into an increasingly dense point within himself. The collector vessels moved closer, their sensors intensifying as they attempted to analyze and categorize the unprecedented energy signature. The pyramid vessel ceased its attack on Azurath, redirecting its anti-cosmic pulses toward Elian's shuttle, but the hybrid energy pattern proved resistant. "Now," Elian exclaimed, releasing the compressed energy in a single, focused burst. What emerged from his shuttle wasn't a destructive blast, but a complex wave of information. Energy patterns that carried embedded code, spreading outward to engulf the three collector vessels. Where the energy touched their black surfaces, it sank in, infiltrating their systems. "What did you do?" Azurath asked, amazed despite his ancient wisdom. "Gave them a new pattern," Elian explained, his voice strained from the enormous effort. "A paradox. Something their programming can't resolve. A recursive loop that tells them they've already collected what they came for, and simultaneously that what they seek doesn't exist." For several long moments, nothing seemed to happen. The collector vessels remained in position, their systems processing the contradictory information Elian had introduced. Then, one by one, their surfaces began to ripple, as if the perfect geometric forms were struggling to maintain their integrity. "It's working," Elian whispered in disbelief. The sphere was the first to respond, its perfect roundness distorting as conflicting commands raced through its systems. Then the cube and pyramid followed, their forms shifting and warping as they attempted to reconcile the irreconcilable paradox Elian had introduced. "Return to the station," Azurath urged. "Quickly. The reaction may be volatile." Elian didn't need to be told twice. He spun his shuttle around, racing back toward Scrap Heap as fast as the small craft could manage. Azurath followed, his weakened form moving with renewed urgency. Behind them, the collector vessels began to break apart, not exploding, but systematically disassembling as their central programming collapsed under the weight of Elian's paradox. Pieces of their structure drifted apart, the perfect forms dissolving into swarms of smaller components that milled about aimlessly, lacking central direction. By the time Elian's shuttle reached Scrap Heap's docking bay, the three collector vessels had completely disintegrated into clouds of inert components. Azurath positioned himself protectively around the station, his massive body forming a barrier against any potential threat from the debris. Grax and his crew met Elian as he emerged from his shuttle, their expressions a mixture of awe and disbelief. "Kid," Grax began, then stopped, at a loss for words. Finally, he simply asked, "How?" Elian, exhausted but exhilarated, smiled wearily. "It's what Azurath has been teaching me. The collectors operate on fixed patterns. They identify, harvest, process. By introducing a pattern they couldn't resolve, a paradox, we essentially crash their systems." "Will they come back?" one of the crew asked nervously. "Rebuild themselves?" "Eventually, perhaps." Azurath's voice resonated through the station's communication system. "But not soon, and not in the same form. What Elian gave them was not merely a temporary disruption, but a fundamental flaw in their base programming. They will need to evolve significantly before they can threaten again." The implications weren't lost on anyone present. Elian hadn't just saved Scrap Heap Station. He had discovered a weapon against the collectors that could protect countless worlds. In the days that followed, news of the collectors' defeat spread through nearby systems. Ships began arriving at Scrap Heap, not salvage vessels and traders as before, but representatives from worlds that had lived in fear of the collectors for generations. They came seeking knowledge, seeking hope, seeking the human boy and his dragon guardian who had accomplished what entire planetary defense systems could not. Grax, ever the opportunist, quickly positioned Scrap Heap as a center for anti-collector research and strategy, charging substantial fees for consultation with Elian and Azurath. The once ramshackle salvage station began to transform into a proper spaceport, with new sections being constructed to accommodate the influx of visitors. 1 month after the battle, Elian stood in the newly constructed observation dome atop the station, watching Azurath glide gracefully through the asteroid field. The dragon had recovered from his injuries, his scales once more gleaming with cosmic energy. "They're calling us heroes," Elian communicated through their bond, still somewhat uncomfortable with the attention they'd received. A simplistic term, Azurath replied with typical dragon pragmatism. "We did what was necessary. What our unique bond made possible. Do you think there are others like us out there?" Elian wondered. Other last ones who might find each other. "The universe is vast and full of improbable synchronicities," Azurath responded. "I would not discount the possibility." Elian smiled, placing his hand against the transparent dome as if reaching out to touch the dragon soaring beyond it. "We're not really the last anymore, are we? We're the first of something new." "Indeed," Azurath agreed, his massive form banking toward the station in acknowledgement. "The first of what? Even I cannot predict. But I am curious to discover it alongside you, young one." The door to the observation dome slid open, and Grax entered, Script perched on his shoulder, as usual. The salvage boss had taken to wearing a more formal uniform these days, befitting his new status as station administrator, though his plated face still bore the same gruff expression. "There you are, Earth Boy," he said, the old nickname persisting despite everything that had changed. "We've got representatives from the Aquarian Collective requesting an audience. Seems they've reconsidered their policy on human refugees. Not that there are any left to take in, but it's the principle of the thing." Elian's expression hardened slightly at the mention of the world that had rejected him when he was most desperate. "Tell them I'm busy." Grax's 4 eyes blinked in surprise. "They're offering technology exchange, defense systems." They turned away a scared, dying child, Elian said quietly. "Let them wait a while longer for their audience. The galaxy's changing, Grax. Those who showed compassion when it was difficult will be remembered. Those who didn't," he shrugged, "they can wait in line with everyone else." A slow smile spread across Grax's plated face. "Look at you, getting all diplomatic. Fine by me. I'll tell them you're in deep meditation with the dragon or something suitably mysterious." As Grax turned to leave, Elian called after him. "But the Takari delegation, the ones who offered sanctuary to the refugees from Proxima Centauri when the collectors came there, they get priority. Schedule them first." "Already done," Grax confirmed with a nod of approval. Not just a hero, but a smart one too. When Grax had gone, Elian returned his attention to Azurath, who had been silently observing the exchange. "You learn quickly," the dragon commented. "The political reality of your new position." "I had a good teacher," Elian replied. "You've seen civilizations rise and fall. I figure there's no better guide for whatever comes next." "And what does come next, young one?" Azurath inquired. "Now that you are no longer the rejected orphan, but a figure of influence and power?" Elian considered the question seriously. Through the viewport, he could see ships arriving and departing from Scrap Heap's newly expanded docking facilities. Beings from across the galaxy coming together, united by the hope he and Azurath had kindled. "We build something new," he decided. "Not just a refuge for the two of us, but for anyone who needs it. A place where no one gets turned away because they're different or because people are afraid." "Ambitious," Azurath observed, but with approval in his ancient voice. "The opposite of what the galaxy showed you." "Exactly," Elian agreed. "We show them a better way. Starting here." As if to emphasize his point, a new ship appeared at the edge of the asteroid field, a vessel unlike any that had visited before. Its design was elegant and organic, resembling a massive sea creature more than a conventional spacecraft. The drifters, Azurath identified. A nomadic species. They rarely make contact with ground dwellers. Their arrival is significant. Elian watched the beautiful ship approach with wonder. "More allies. Perhaps," Azurath replied. "Or perhaps simply curious observers. But their presence suggests news of our victory has spread further than we realized." Elian straightened his shoulders, feeling the weight of responsibility, but also the strength of purpose. He was no longer defined by what he had lost, Earth, his parents, his kind, but by what he had found: a guardian, a home, a mission. Well, he said with determination beyond his years, let's go welcome them to Scrap Heap, or whatever we're calling it now. New Refuge has a certain appropriate symmetry, Azurath suggested, amusement coloring his mental voice. Elian laughed. New Refuge it is, a place where even the last ones can find a beginning. As he left the observation dome to meet the newcomers, Elian felt Azurath's presence warm in his mind, the bond between human and dragon as strong as ever. The orphan boy who had been rejected by every refuge had not only found his own, but created one for others. And as the last dragon's wing had opened for him, now he extended his own protection to those who might follow. The journey ahead would not be easy. The collectors would eventually return in some new form. Other threats would emerge. But for the first time since Earth's destruction, the future held more promise than peril. And that made all the difference. And that was the end of the story. If you listened all the way to here, don't forget to leave feedback about what you thought of the story in the comments, whether positive or negative. Your feedback helps us improve. Also leave your like and subscribe to the channel for more stories like this one. And I'll leave here on the screen another video that I'm sure you'll like. Big hug, and see you in the next story.